The world really does work in mysterious ways. Who would have thought we would reach the time where Sonic 06 was back in the center of discussion, not because of how much of a travesty it was, but instead because fans are split on the notion that it could get a remake. Sonic 06, when it came out, was supposed to be a revolutionary step forward for the franchise. It was pushing the graphics on the new consoles of the time, and it was taking Sonic to depths he had never seen before. But, as we all know, it didn't play out that way. The game was rushed, the development was not given the proper respect it deserved, and the released product was subpar. So subpar that it forever changed the direction of Sonic. The adventure formula that had been praised almost non-stop up to that point was immediately dropped, and guess what? Even today, it's never come back. Sonic's cast of colourful characters began to get phased out, not as quickly as the gameplay, but by 2011, they were a thing of the past. Taking the story seriously, similar story, phased out over time, and soon enough, that was completely gone. It was a huge landmark moment, and a really bad one, and yet, playing it as a kid, at the time, I didn't have these opinions. When I died, or if I fell off the side of the map in a strange fashion, I assumed it was my own player skill, or lack of skill, that resulted in the deaths. And so that meant I could play this game with an open mind. I could play this game assuming that mostly it was my fault if something went wrong. Obviously there were things that clearly were not down to me, but that was how I played 06 from beginning to end. And I even played the local split screen because, again, it's weird to talk about, but back then Sonic games were actually known for coming with a multiplayer component. So I was playing that all the time, I was playing the main modes all the time, and I liked the game. I had my frustrations with it, don't get me wrong. It still used lives, the autosave was terrible, but I liked the game. Then I got access to the internet, and I learned that Sonic 06 was a bad game, and I learned that a lot of the issues I had were not because of my skills, but because the game itself was fundamentally broken. And that was a big change in my own opinions of 06. I went from being alright with it, liking it enough, to, yeah, joining in. It is a bad game, laugh at it, it's terrible, never go there. I loved watching reviewers dig into the game and point out every fault. I thought it was hilarious, especially due to the acting that some of the reviews put into their videos. Made it very entertaining to watch. And again, it is legitimately disappointing that the game was released in the state it was. There is no defense for that. But hearing the online rhetoric really changed my own internal view of Sonic 06 that clashed with how I originally interpreted the game when it was just me and the disc. In time, I would eventually return to the topic of Sonic 06 because whilst I had changed my opinion and saw it truly as a bad game, I still could notice that just because 06 was bad doesn't mean everything it attempted to do was bad. It was just that in that instance, the execution fell through. And as the years went on and the games forever stayed away from anything 06 related, my frustration with 06's reputation grew more than my frustration with the game not being finished. Why are we not doing Adventure? Why is Spin Dash gone in 3D? Why can't I play as Knuckles anymore? All of these things were getting really, really annoying. So I came back to the game, I played it again, and yes, it was a buggy mess still, and it was hilarious to laugh at the bugs when they happened. And yes, some of the story and delivery I didn't like. Sonic, I will forever say it, I feel like Sonic is so out of character in 06, it just doesn't feel like him to me. But even then, I still had bits I liked. I liked that the levels were fully 3D. I liked that there were upgrades to your characters. I liked you were given the chance to play as the other characters It's just too bad most of them sucked. But hey, you can't have it all. Another thing that helped me reinterpret my view of 06 was when the fan project 06 came out and I first got hold of it, because then you got to see the game with touched up controls that didn't fail you, with more adventure inspired physics, better spin dashes, being able to jump into an enemy without the homing attack, things that it was really strange 06 omitted, and it did feel like it was just cut because of time constraints. Combining those two things made me see 06 in a new light, and I realised it is closer to how it was when I was younger, where I can acknowledge the faults now that I understand the faults are there and they're not me, but now I know how to play around them, which isn't a defense of the game, but I do know how to play around them, and I can appreciate the good qualities that were there, or at least tried to be there. So Project 06 was really all I could have ever asked for, because it was the same game and then enhanced. Yes, it's not completely faithful. For example, Omega didn't have access to his Gatling guns in 06, or any playable game really, but I'm not complaining that they were put into Project 06. That was a great inclusion. But it did enough. It did enough for the gameplay to make it feel smooth and really allow me to appreciate the levels without having to worry that the game will bug out on me. And the original game itself, with the story mode that isn't in Project 06, I hated a lot of the story features. Like I said, I feel like Sonic is out of character for so much of the game. But I could still get a new perspective of it. I made a video a couple years ago now about Princess Elise, who, even as a kid where I thought the game was alright, I never liked Elise, and I never liked the kiss scene, and I just thought all of that was bad. But I came back to it, and I actually am fine with Elise now. Would I do it again? Maybe not. But am I fine with it as it was interpreted there? Yes, I am. There was a story they were telling, she goes through an arc, Sonic helps her complete the arc, and they decided to throw romance into it, which, as I mentioned in my Elise video, the style of that romance has actually been done numerous times before. But obviously, for me, it was my first time I saw something like that, so I thought it was crazy. And I guess a lot of other people did too. But inherently, it didn't have to be flawed or panned. It's just that it came at the wrong time, in the wrong package, and you can say it for everything. Like Silver, man, I was not a Silver fan, let me tell you that. I was not a Silver fan in the past. I'm not really his biggest supporter now, but 06 did him no favours. And yet I can still appreciate what they were going for these days with Silver, where he was naive, but he was also headstrong, and he wanted to do the right thing, and his life was really terrible beforehand, so he really appreciated the world he was sent back to, and all of these new experiences he was suddenly being assaulted with. And he had to learn quick, and he made a lot of mistakes. So even as someone who's not the biggest Silver fan, I can appreciate that. The story had its potential. Mephiles the Dark, actually a peak villain character. Could it have been done better? Yes. I don't care. It still went great, in my opinion. I always thought Mephiles was great at all times since Sonic 06 came out. And I'm going over all of these things, all of these anecdotal things, because I'm trying to lead up to the big discussion, which is, should this game be remade, remastered, whatever you want to call it? Because part of that would be the DNA of the game is going to be changed forever. The game was a failure. You should not expect a faithful remake, and especially if you asked me in the past about, well, an unfaithful remake, yeah, go for it. Do it. But the problem is, now that I can appreciate what it was going for, I'm not sure if I would want that, because we're just erasing history at that point. We're changing the past. And I know this is a huge stain on the Sonic franchise's past. I'm well aware of that. I would be more interested in a new game, maybe inspired by what 06 was trying to do, but a brand new experience. 06 is always going to be 06. Even if you remake it, the original is there, and no one will forget about it. But a new game that tries to do what 06 did, but better, I think would be more impressive and arguably more beneficial. Of course, you'll get the surface level boost of redeeming your past, of correcting the mistake of Sonic 06. But a lot of people these days haven't even played Sonic 06. A lot of the people watching this video right now probably haven't played Sonic 06. It's really just the notion, the idea of the game that haunts Sega now, and all they'll be doing is potentially clearing that up a little bit. And I have a similar thought on Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 getting remakes. So many people want to see those games remade. I am a huge adventure fan. I don't want to see them remade, because it won't be the games I love. Which is different to 06, but we'll get back to that. They won't be the games I love. The story will change, the writing will change, the deliveries will change, oh, the gameplay will change. Were those games perfect? No, but what is? I liked what they were. I feel like re-releases are all they need. I would much rather have the energy and effort that would have been put into a remake to be put into Adventure 3. Or whatever you want to call that game, but the next adventure game. Much prefer that. And people say, oh no, but if you make Adventure 3 and it flops, the series is done for. Good. Fine. Why would you want to just live in a loop forever of regurgitating the past? Oh, look, it's 2030 and we're going to be playing Sonic Adventure 2 again. Wow. I'm still waiting for us to move past Sonic 06 from 2006. So 2030, playing Adventure 2 again, that's not really progression if you ask me. That's a treadmill. The treadmill is join the series, get old, leave, someone new jumps in and they start all over again. And yeah, you can run it like that, but I'm not interested if that's the case. Shadow Generations re-goes over past aspects because it's repeating what Generations did. But they are doing this because they need to re-establish the series after the devastatingly sad 2010s. Frontiers did this for Sonic and his friends and the direction we can expect from the games, and then Shadow Generations did this for Shadow himself, as well as boosting some of the things we saw in Frontiers. We don't need any more games going over the past now. That is enough. They've done their jobs. We need to be moving forward with new experiences that test if the developers do truly understand or have even better ideas, instead of crutching on the past. And that's bringing us back to 06. I know it was a failure, and doing it over again is probably just going to be beneficial overall. Just make a new game. Make a new adventure-style game. It can be big and grand, like how 06 was supposed to be. Hell, you could even bring Elise into it, Iblis into it, Meth. I don't care. I don't care. Silver could be a main character. I would prefer Blaze. Point being, do a new game. Prove that you've got it. Don't rely on the past. Just be inspired by it and build better. A big truth that just can't go unsaid is that the Project 06 game is basically the ideal form of which a Sonic 06 remaster or remake could ever be in, if you ask me. Because gameplay wise, it takes what was there, it builds upon it, taking inspiration from the adventure games, since that's the closest thing to 06. A couple more modern ideas unique to the developer as well as the fact that just games have progressed since 2006, just to clean it up and polish the edges, to make a more refined experience that I think succeeds far better at doing what it tried to than the original 06 did. Yes, it's missing the story, the open world, hub world, all of the dialogue interactions, boss fights, these are all missing. And so if there were to be a Sega official remake, I think the ideal form would be they bring on Chaos X and any of the other helpers for Project 06 and use Project 06 itself as a base and then just flesh it out a bit more. Now, I don't think that's how they would do it, because I've never heard of a company doing that, at least in modern times, where they absorb a fan project and then add more onto it and then re-release that as an official product. But that's what I would want if they were going to remake it, because that game is faithful enough while still innovating in a way where it's still clearly Sonic 06, but improved. Whereas if Sega were to do it from the ground up, like I've mentioned before, will it have boosting? Will they just change the story completely? Because there's a difference between rewriting a few scenes to make it flow better and just completely changing the course of the story. For example, Sonic and Elise. Elise's whole character arc relies on Sonic being the person that brings her out of her shell. So that would need to stay, but then people would be debating on, okay, well, do they need to kiss? Does she need to be romantically into him? In the past, I would have said, yeah, remove that. These days, I would say keep that. That's how it was. This is just how they decided to do it, and it is what it is. I'm not going to die over it, so I wouldn't change that. But Sega today definitely would change that. Character designs as well. The Sonic 06 models, I used to not really like, but they've grown on me over the years, especially because 3D modelers and animators from the fan community have taken those character models and shown that they had a lot more potential. In the actual 06, in normal 06, if you zoom in the Sonic's player model, he's got a 2D drawn-on smirk at all times, and I noticed that as a kid and I thought it looked ridiculous. And then the fact that Sonic's personality is a bit off in this game, he's always frowning most of the time anyway in the cutscenes, didn't help me endear the character model either. These days, yeah, I can appreciate they're actually pretty cool, but would they be changed? Because if there's one character model I do not want to see, it's the goddamn current modern Sonic Forces styled 3D model with the short quills, the pale blue. No, 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 I don't want to see that. And Project 06 keeps the original. So I think it's unrealistic to expect Sega to do that, which is another reason why I would just want them to make a new game rather than retread old ground, when Project 06 is doing a great job at that anyway. And I know it's not going to include story. I think bosses are still planned and in development though, so that would be cool. And that's enough for me. If I want the story, I can play the original, but if I want the gameplay, I can play Project 06. Meanwhile, Sega can just make a brand new game. Ultimately, if they do remake Sonic 06, would I play and enjoy it? Probably. I probably would play and enjoy it. Well, I don't know. If it was a boost game, if they just completely made it a boost game, so I'm losing out on a game that was fully 3D with tons of levels that lasted a long time, okay, I probably wouldn't be enjoying it. No. But if it remains an actual traditional 3D adventure game, even if they change a lot about the levels, the characters, the story, I would probably enjoy it, because again, 06 is by no means perfect. A lot of what I enjoy about 06 are things I can appreciate they were going for, even if they didn't execute it properly. So if we get a new game that does things and executes them better, of course, I'm not blind, I will probably enjoy it. But my preference would be just make a new game and make it better. 06 is 06, and it always will be. But that is just my opinion. What are yours? I know so many people are split all over the place around this. People are offended that some fans don't want to see 06 remastered because they think the game's great, and vice versa. And some people just think Sonic fans can never be pleased, which, that's a different conversation. But do let me know in the comments down below, and thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you have a great day, and to see you next time. This is the Mighty Emperor, signing off.